Hi there everybody and welcome. It's Jackie here from stampingjack.com. It is Thursday, the 30th of September. I am one day late with my Facebook Live this week. Those of you who saw my post yesterday will know that my darling husband surprised me with tickets to a performance of Carmina Burana, which was going on last night. So those of you that don't know it, the music is very, very famous from the film Excalibur, and also from the Old Spice ads. That ages me a little bit that I remember the Old Spice ads, but it is my absolute favourite piece of music ever. Every time I listen to it, it gives me chills. So he surprised me with tickets to that performance. I was delighted. So he had a lovely time. So hi Lynn, welcome. Hi Diane, good to have you with us. So I'm just going to do the usual and check where I am. Make sure that I'm in the right places. So yeah, thanks for sharing, Lynn. So yeah, if you haven't already done so, please do share today's video. Let me just... Oh dear. Hi Doreen, welcome. So let's try and navigate Facebook, see if I can get to where I want to go. I'm sure it's all fine. How is everybody? How is the weather in the UK? More importantly, how is your fuel situation? I see that there's problems in the UK. Okay, so that's that. Cold today. Yeah, it's gotten cold here as well, Diane. It's quite windy. You can see I've got my jumper on. It's definitely feeling the nip in the air. Thankfully, touch wood, so far, fuel hasn't really been an issue for us on the Isle of Man because we kind of have our own stores here because we've got our own providers. So we've probably got a bit to keep us going because it's an island. We always try to stockpile supplies of things like this. So, you know, if the boat doesn't go for a week, we can't afford to run out of fuel and staples and things like that. So fingers crossed, we'll be able to ride it out. Hi Lynn, don't have any fuel, that's bad. Hi Peggy from Minnesota, welcome. We're just discussing, I don't know if you're aware of it on the news, but there is a shortage of fuel here in the UK, mainly as a result of a shortage of drivers to bring the fuel to petrol stations. I know, Diane, personally I think it's ridiculous. I wonder how much of it is driven by media hype. I'm not sure that there was actually a crisis until the media told everyone that there was a crisis and everybody rushed out to the shops. It was a bit like the whole toilet roll situation fiasco that we had last year. So, yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. What I hope is that once everybody in the entire country has filled up their cars, that gives the petrol stations a bit of a breather to actually, you know, return, and people will start to be a bit sensible again. But yes, Kevin went back to the UK today, so he's queuing up to refuel as we speak, but he's found a petrol station that has fuel, so that's a good thing, I suppose. He hasn't had to drive to lots of different places to try and get it. So because of course he's got to, my son Rupert is coming home from school this weekend. They're staying in London, so he's got to drive from Surrey to North London tomorrow and then back again on Sunday, so he needs to make sure he has enough to get him there and back. But there we have it, such is life. As if COVID itself wasn't bad enough, we've got this to test us. But anyway, enough about all that doom and gloom. Let's have a little bit of fun this evening, shall we? So tonight, or today, is the last day of Saleabration. So as of, I think it's 11 p.m. UK time tonight. After that, any orders, you won't be able to get your Saleabration goodies. So this is your last chance. So I've decided that for tonight, I'm just going to have a final little play with my Saleabration stuff. So before I do that, I just want to show you some of the, just remind you of what's in here. So we've got our dazzling paper. So this is this gorgeous shiny gold paper. It's really, really lovely. And we did make a card with that. Where is it now? Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Nope, can't find it. But we're going to make a card with that paper tonight anyway. You've got your Penguin Playmates paper. Ah, I found it. Ooh. I put my stuff in 2 piles. So there's that paper. Really, really lovely. I say, coming up for Christmas, this is brilliant paper. And then we've got the Penguin Playmates paper here. So obviously on one side it's all penguins and polar bears, but actually on the reverse sides, I love the colour combinations, and the patterns on here is really, really nice. And then next up we have the Feels Like Home stamp set, which I never really got because I'll be honest, it's not really my style. We've got the beautifully penned designer series paper. So this is one of the cards I made last week. So this is just black and white, and this is another side of it. So again, this is a great staple pack to have. I've got quite a few of those. We've got the Peaceful Prints designer series paper. So again, that's mostly Christmas, but some good neutral designs in there. We've got the Counting Sheep stamp set and die. So last week, not last week, but the week before, we made a few really cute cards with this stamp set and dies. So again, these sheep are just so sweet, and they just make you smile whenever you look at them. And then my favorite, which is the Textures and Frames stamp set, and I actually did a whole load of bits on this. So if I show you just some of the cards that I've made with this one. Hi Mary, welcome. So again, whilst there's no sentiments or anything in it, I think these shapes are absolutely gorgeous, and I'm going to make another card with this one tonight. We've got the Summer Shadows dies. Now I don't have the stamp set that it goes with. The stamp set is in the catalogue, so I didn't get the dies. And then we have the Delicate Dahlias stamp set, and again I love this one. This is one of the cards I made with that, and we're going to have a go at making some stuff with that tonight. Yours came today, Diane. Which stamps came today for you then? Something just in time for the weekend for you to play with. So I'm just going to pop these away. So as I say, that finishes tonight. So make sure and get your orders in if you haven't done so already. So I'm going to start out tonight with the Delicate Dahlias. Mary, the Carmina Burana was fantastic. I have to say, I wasn't, no disrespect, but I wasn't sure because it was a local ensemble that was doing it. But it was spectacular. It's absolutely wonderful. I've been to see the Carmina Burana plenty of times. I've been to see it performed in the Royal Albert Hall and various other places. And it was absolutely on a par with that. So really, really lovely. Definitely worth it. The one that that I stamped upside down, Diane, you mean this one, where I stamped with the back of the stamp instead of the front of the stamp. Yes. There you go. Just goes to show you how versatile they are. So I'm going to start with Delicate Dahlias. And those of you who were here last week will remember that I made some cards using the spotlight technique. Okay, and I have to be honest, it was one of those evenings where every single card fought back. But the final one I made, I was not happy with. So I refused to be beaten. So I'm going to have another go at this, but I'm going to use the Delicate Dahlias because the mistake I made here is that my image wasn't big enough to get the effect that I wanted. So I'm going to have another go at that now today. So fingers crossed for me, ladies, that I will excise that ghost of last week. Yes, I have to say, I went off last week at the end of the live and I was like, what on earth was that? I've never had it where every single card fights back with me. But anyway, so what we've got here then is I've got a piece of Whisper White and a piece of cherry cobbler, and I have cut out one of my stitched rectangle dies from the center of that, because that's going to be the layer. And I haven't quite decided whether my base is going to be crushed curry or Cajun craze yet. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to go for kind of autumnal feel on here. Okay, and then I'm going to grab, oh no, this is not a good start. My piece is missing. Oh dear, let's hope it's not a shape of things to come for the night. Nope, it's on the floor. Phew, found it. So I've got my little piece here. Okay, so we'll put away our bases for the moment, and we can put this piece away. So we'll just add this piece. But what we're going to do is take a little bit of snail. You just want a tiny little bit, and what we want to do is to just take the adhesive off, take away most of the tackiness, because we just want this for holding our stamp in position. So I'm just going to lay that down there. Let's make sure that it's straight. Here we go on my in frame. There we go. And I'm going to use the large outline stamp, which is this one. So you can see that this one overlaps my piece quite substantially, so it should work better. And then I've got the outline of the leaf. So again, that overlaps quite a lot. And I'm going to use the thank you kindly. So I'm actually going to stamp my sentiment. So I'm going to grab, let's get this on a block first of all. Ink. Okay, so I think I'm going to use early espresso for this. Okay, so I'm going to start by stamping my sentiment, because that will then tell me where I need to go for my other pieces. Okay, so we'll just stamp that there. Okay, and then we'll ink up our large image. We'll just stamp that so that it's overlapping. Let's give it a good press. This is quite a big image, so I want to make sure and get a good impression. Oh, Diane, you still liked it. Thank you. You're very kind. But there you go. I guess it shows that this happens. It's part of card making, isn't it? Sometimes it's easy when you're watching videos where everything's pre-prepared and it looks like we know everything. The same things that happens to everybody happens to us experts. So you're not alone in your struggle. So let's do like that. There we are. So that's the key to this, to the success of this, is that your image is considerably bigger than your portion here. Okay, so then what we want to do is grab our scrap paper. I'm just going to pull that in. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to take this off. All right. So then I'm going to use, last week I used a combination of methods. So I actually coloured with blends on these two. But this one, what I wanted to show you was using like a texture stamp just to give the impression of colour rather than having to actually colour. So I think I'm going to try my Painted Poppies stamp set, because this has got two really nice textures. You could also use the Gorgeous Leaves. There's quite a lot of our stamp sets actually have these splodgy bits. It's the technical term, by the way. So let's have a look and see. I think this one and maybe this one. So I'm going to use the small one from Painted Poppies, and I'm also going to use the big one from Gorgeous Leaves. But as I say, plenty of our stamp sets have got little splodgy images like this that you could use. So that's my big one. That's my small one. So let's start with the easy bit. We're going to do the green. So I want some Old Olive. So I'm going to stamp off to begin with. And then just stamp around it. And that just gives, can you see, that just gives the impression of the green that I want there. Okay. And then I'm going to use some crushed curry and some cherry cobbler and a little bit of Cajun craze on this one, okay, to create some shading. So I'm going to start with my crushed curry. Being a bit noisy here. So I'm going to start by adding this kind of, and I'm going to use this bit to the edge. So I'm just going to kind of add this all over, just to kind of start the colouring. So you can see if you have this stamp set, this is a great way of colouring in these big images without getting too technical with your colouring. Okay. So now I'm going to bring in my cherry cobbler and my small image. So let's just clean that off. Okay, and then with my cherry cobbler, I'm actually going to stamp off a couple of times because I just want to create just some very subtle colour and shading, like so. And then we can do the same with our crushed curry. So again, you can see I'm not being careful or particularly deliberate about where I'm placing my colour. I'm just getting the colour down. So you've just got that nice variegated image. So there you go. Okay, so rather than colouring it, I think that's just a really great way. And again, you could do it on the whole image if you wanted. There we go. So let's move those out of the way. Okay, and then let's bring back our piece. Okay. So now we can attach that on there, and then we can line the image up like so. And I can see I've gotten a little bit of ink down the end here, so let's just get rid of that. So while I'm doing that, what I want you ladies to decide, okay, is do we put it on a crushed curry card base or a Cajun craze? So whilst I clean up this bit, let's have your votes for curry or Cajun. And of course, if we can't get this off, you all know what the solution to this is, don't you? We'll just do a little bit of spritzing, which should sort us right out. So we'll just... Here we go. Curry, says Diane. There we go. Okay, so we can glue this piece down. You can see I was experimenting on the back here. Curry, says Lynn. I think I agree with you ladies. I think it gives a better contrast with the cherry cobbler layer. Stephanie says curry. I think we've got some consensus there, don't we? Right, so that's that. Let's just glue this on here. And try to get it straight. Okay, and then I'm going to pop this up. Find my full-size dimensionals. Okay, and then we're just going to line this back up Oops. My glue wiggled. Okay, so there we go. Okay. Oops. Diane's video keeps getting interrupted. I think it might be you, Diane. I can't see anything on my machine here. I watch it on my laptop to make sure that I'm going correctly. Now I've gotten some adhesive on my surface here, so I'm just using my adhesive eraser to get rid of that. And then what I think I'm going to do, I think curry is the choice. I think you've done correctly. I think I would have agreed with you there. So I'm just going to clean off my block. And I'm going to take my crushed curry and stamp this in the corner. So this is just tone on tone. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to fold my card. So this is just an A4 sheet cut in half long ways. Okay, and then we can just glue this down. And there we go. So there we go. I think that worked much, much better than this one. So Lynn, yours keeps freezing and starting again. I hope it's not my connection. As I say, I'm watching it here and it seems to be going through okay. I guess we'll just have to power through. Hopefully it will be okay. Right, so that's card number 1. Now I have another fun idea for you using this stamp set, which I'm just going to clean off a little before I move on. Okay, keep that there. Just moving my samples out of the way. There we go. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to make a card base out of vellum. Okay, and I saw this on YouTube a while ago and I've been meaning to try it for a while, so I'm just going to put this down so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just going to, this is just our vellum cardstock, so I'm just going to fold it in half and then just crease it with my bone folder. Okay, so now I've got a card base, but it's not really strong enough by itself to stand, so we'll need to add something to it. So what I've done is I've taken my basic borders dies, okay, and I've used this one here, and I've just die cut some pieces so they're all the same height and the same width, so you can see that they line up. So what I'm going to do, Peggy says her video was fine all the way across the pond, so obviously it must be something in England then. It's typical, isn't it, that we get all the way over there and it's fine, but I can't get as far as the UK. So you can see what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue them to the front and to the back, because that way we won't see it shining through, or won't see the adhesive coming through, but it gives the card enough strength to stand. Okay, but before we do that, I'm going to do some heat embossing. So we'll bring our pieces in. So I've got my Versamark, got my embossing buddy, and I'm going to heat emboss in gold. Okay, and I'm also going to do some heat embossing on this sentiment here. So I'm going to use the I'm going to use the You Inspire Me. Okay, and I'm just going to do that on there. Okay, so let's just open this up. So the first thing to do, I'm going to do this one first. Okay, so we use our embossing buddy to get rid of our static. so. And then we'll ink up our sentiment. I'm going to offset this slightly. There we go. And then I'm going to add my gold embossing powder to that. Okay, so I can set that aside for 1 second. Pop this back in. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my vellum card base. I don't know if you can see that there. So I'm just going to put this down at the bottom just for reference. Okay, and again, it also gives me somewhere to hold. So because this is vellum and it does hold oils in particular, I just need to give it a good old dusting with my embossing buddy. Okay, and then we're going to ink up our stamp. So again, I'm using the outline image here. Good inking, and then I'm going to just place it. I think I'm going to put it here. Okay, again, give it a good press. What I should really do with this one is I should put my stamping mat underneath, so it gives it a bit of extra cushioning, but that would require thinking ahead. Okay, so should do the trick, and then we're going to use our gold embossing powder on here again. There we go. And then, very important, put this back in its pot. Otherwise, a disaster. Okay, so just grab my heat tool. So when heat embossing, it's always important to heat up your heat tool first before you bring it. You get a better result, but that's especially important with vellum, because you don't want to scorch your vellum, so you want the minimum amount of time. So the hotter it is, the better. So I'm going to start with this bit. There we go. So now my heat tool is nice and hot. So I'm just going to bring it, and with the vellum you just need to make sure you keep moving so you don't get too much warping. You can see, look at that. I love heat embossing on vellum. Now you need to be careful with your vellum. Make sure that it's a nice heavyweight one, otherwise it will just warp on you, and that would not be good. Okay, so now I'm just going to grab a piece of kitchen towel, and for my cherry cobbler piece I'm just going to give it a buff to get rid of that residue from the embossing buddy. Okay, and it gives this a moment or two to cool. Right, so now I'm going to do my gluing. So let's start at the front. I don't need an enormous amount of glue. Okay, and just line that up across the bottom. Okay, just press it down gently, and then we'll flip it over so you can see here. You can see the glue, can't you? And we don't want that. So now I'm going to use this piece to basically sandwich my vellum. Oops. Okay. Now, if you didn't have a border die, you could just do a strip. That's absolutely fine. Or you could just do a strip and use a punch to create your border. It's entirely up to you. But I do like these border dies. Used some on the on my counting sheep cards the other week. So now we're just going to do the same on the back. Okay, flip it over. So now you can see that my card is much more sturdy than it was before. Okay, so it's warped a little because I've heat embossed on it, so I will even that out. I'll stack it under some heavy books or something, or just put my stamp on it for a bit. Okay, and then I'm going to grab some colours. I'm going to use my blends. Okay, and because I've heat embossed, it should be relatively easy to colour. Okay, so again, I'm not going to do an enormous amount of blending on this. And I think whilst I do that, I've also got our cherry cobbler and gold metallic ribbon. So I think I'm going to put some of that across the top, like so. Yep. Okay, and I'm just going to do a knot. So again, this just helps provide a little bit of extra structure and stability to my vellum. So I'm not doing a bow, I'm just doing a double knot, keeping it simple. Okay, and then we'll just trim our ends. There we go. So now let's grab our blend. So I'm going to start with some Mango Melody. Okay, and I'm going to use the brush tip because I've got quite a large area I want to cover. So I'm just colouring over like so. Just to get some colour down. Am I in frame there, can you see? Okay, so just wanted to get a base. Bearing in mind that when you colour on the vellum, it will lighten as it dries. Okay, so then I'm going to take some, what's this? I've got my light cake, so I've got my Cajun Craze and I've got some pumpkin pie. So I'm going to go for my next darkest colour and just add some little highlights here and there of pumpkin pie. And then I'm going to add some cherry cobbler. Yeah, you could do a lot with this. You could take an enormous amount of care with it, but I don't really want to spend too much time on this. So you can see I'm just putting the colour down, and then I'm going to grab my dark Mango Melody again. I'm just going to use that to blend these colours. Into one another. Now, what you need to be careful of with this is that now the tip of my Mango Melody has got different colours on it, but all I need to do is just colour. Can you see that? And it gets rid of the other colours that have blended in. Okay, and now I'm back to my Mango Melody. Okay, and then I'm going to just come in with my add a little bit more intensity in the center. And then blend it out with my light pumpkin pie. Okay, and you just give that a second to dry. Then I'm just going to rub this to try and bring up my heat embossing a little bit more. That's why I was saying don't be worried if it gets very, very dark, because rub it again. So there we go. We've got our lovely vellum. Can't really see it there. We've got our lovely vellum card. Okay, and then you can just write your greeting at the bottom there. So there we go. That's card number 2. So they're both using the Delicate Dahlias stamp set, which of course is one of our Saleabration freebies. So next up, I'm going to use the Textures and Frames stamp set, and this is just a really, really simple card. So I'm going to use Magenta Madness, and this is for you, Lynn, because I know whenever I ask for a colour choice, you always go with Magenta Madness. You seem to like that one, and I never quite get it right, so let's try it now. So I'm going to do Magenta Madness, and just jade, and then I'll also need, I think, crushed curry actually I'm going to use, and then I want my stays on. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Biggest Wish stamp set, one of my favourites. In fact, no, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use the Sweet Ice Cream stamp set because it's got a nice big happy birthday in it. I use the Biggest Wish just far too much. Far too much. It's making me lazy. So I've got my piece of Whisper White, Magenta Madness and Basic Black. And I'm going to just stamp with my stays on. So I am going to put my Stampin' Purist map under here, because I want to get a really good solid black image here. Okay, I'm going to pop that there. There we go. Okie, so just pop that back up. And then I'm going to use this image here. Yes, Peggy, you can colour it from the front or the back, whichever you prefer. It's entirely up to you. If you colour it from the back, you get a less intense colour. Okay, so my Magenta Madness and my Just Jade. Okay. So what I'm going to do is alternate my colours. Between the two. Can you see what it is yet? Can you see what I'm making? Because I did do a card before using two colours but offsetting them like that to create a border along one side. But this is slightly different. So now what I'm going to do is on this we've got this image, which is supposed to be a melting piece of ice cream, but I think it will make the perfect candle flame because these are birthday candles. So I'm going to bring in my crushed curry, I'm going to stamp our candles. And I'm doing some of them straight, some of them off center. There we go. Okay, and then let's grab my Wink of Stella. I'm just going to put glitter on my candles. So I'm doing all of the Magenta Madness first, because I don't want to carry my colour over. Okay, and then I'll do my Just Jade. So this is one of those cards that, again, depending on who it's for, you could just change up the colours to suit. Okay, my lid. Okay, got a little smush on there, so let's get rid of that. Okay, so now we're just going to stick this down onto our Magenta Madness base. So, and then this is just a super simple, easy card. So it's also the kind of thing that if you were kind of caught a bit short and needed a card quickly, you could put this together in just a couple of minutes. And now here, what I'm going to do is on the inside, is I'm going to just do my candles in the corner. There we go. And then we can glue this into our base. My glue is nearly done, so I'm just eking out the last of it. So there we go. That's a super simple card using the Textures and Frames stamp set. Okay. So then I've got one more card for you. So let's just make some room. And this last one is using the Be Dazzling paper that's in the catalogue. So again, particularly with Christmas coming, I think this will be really a staple for you. And I'm going to pair it with my Stitched Stars dies, one of my favourite die sets. And I'm just going to do a really simple white card, and then I've also got my Many Messages stamp set and coordinating die. So what I've got is I've got a white card base, and then just another layer of white to go on top. And then I've just cut a selection of the stars out of the gold. So you can see I've got various different ones, and some of them in white. So I'm just going to layer them up. Okay, so we've got our gold, and then I think we'll do a white, and then I think we'll do gold. There we go. And then we've got just a little one, oops, there. Okay, and then in here I want, there's a small, I'm going to take this, and there's a small image here which says congratulations here. Okay, so this is all one stamp, but I'm just going to show you how to do it if you just want one of the images. Okay, So I've got a scrap of Whisper White here. So I've got these other pieces, which again I could layer up like so. I've got lots of different options. We could do that one. I think I prefer that. So actually, looking at it, which do you prefer? Do you prefer the gold base, or do you prefer the white base? Because if we do the white, what I could do is just pop that behind. So let me know what you think. Do you prefer this one, or I'm just gonna this one? Would you prefer a white base or a gold base? Can you see those two? Okay, and I'm just going to get my stuff ready for a bit of heat embossing. I'm going to emboss my sentiment in gold. Amy says white base, Diane says white base, Lynn says gold. Peggy says gold, Doreen says gold. Okay. Okay. That even Stevens, I think, at the moment. Right, so I'm just going to put those to one side. You guys can continue to vote amongst yourselves. Right, so I've got my strip here. This is just a strip that's left over from trimming my cardstock. And I've got my sentiment I want. No, I found it a second ago. There. Congratulations. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stamp. I'm just going to ink it up. And I'm not too worried about getting ink on the surrounding images as well. Okay. I'm just going to put my base down here. Okay. And then I'm going to take my image, and when I've got a big stamp like that, I tend to just leave the background stamp there and bring my paper to the stamp and then rub it with my block. Okay, so then I can check that. Yes, we've got congratulations, and I'm going to stamp that again because I think I might please you all and do two. We'll do one white, one gold, seeing as we have all the pieces. Okay, so then we'll just do the same. Just layer our piece on top and then rub it carefully with my block. So that means if you've got a big background stamp, you don't need to have a massive block. You could use your Stamparatus as well, but this is easier than reaching to my right and taking it out of the drawer because I'm that lazy. Okay, so then we grab our embossing powder, and I'm just going to pop it on there like that. Okay. Again, I'm not worried about it doing the others as well. Okay, because I'm going to die cut it, so you won't see it. And I'm just, here we go. So let's grab my heat tool. There we go. Okay, and then what I can do is I've got my die, and I can then decide which piece, because some of these work in more, some of these sentiments work in more than one. So this is where it's designed to go if you use the stamp in its entirety. Okay, but you could put it there. It works in that one or in that one. Also fits in that one. So actually I think I'm going to do this one here. So all I'm going to do now is just trim this piece down. Okay, and then just line this up on in my die cutting machine and line that up along with it. Okay, so I'm going to trim this off because I know otherwise it will just stick out. Okay, and I'm going to do the same with this one. So I'm just going to cut those two out and I'll be right back. I'll be there in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. So there we go. Now we have our two congratulations. So now let's assemble both of our cards. Okay, so I'm just going to grab, first I'm going to clear this embossing dust over. So I've got a Whisper White card base. Okay, whoops, just knocked my light off. There we go. That's better. Alright, so we'll start with our gold. Okay, and I think this piece is too small. So I want next size up. That size, yes. So I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals. Go. And then I'll just attach these. I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid glue in here. Okay, so I'm not sticking it right down to the tips, I'm just doing it in the corner because again that just gives me a little bit of extra texture. Okay, so then just going to glue this on here. So I just want to give this a moment to settle because it's gluing it to the glitter paper, but it should glue together, it should do it fine. Okay. Right, so then I'm just going to add some, whoops, add some dimensionals to the back here. Okay, so we've got that there, and then we've got our little congratulations there. I'm going to pop that up, so I'm going to grab my mini dimensionals for the back of this one. Okay. And I think maybe I was going to put some of my gold behind here, but it's the wrong color. It's too gold. So let's see if I grab our glittered organdy ribbon. That might work. So let's just try that. I know it's not gold, but let's see. I just feel it needs a little something behind it. Yes, but that's not Nope, I've got some gold here, but I don't like that either. Let's see if I go to my old faithful, which is my crinkled seam binding ribbon. I think that might do the trick. Just lend that little bit of extra texture behind my star. Yeah, I think that works. So what I'm going to do is just grab a little bit of adhesive and then just create my loop. And this is all going to be hidden behind the star anyway, so there we go. And then we'll pop our star down. And then we'll add our congratulations. There we go. Okay, so that's with the gold background. So now let's do our with the white background. So we'll just assemble. We've got a few more layers for this one. As I said, I love this paper. It's very glitter ball-y. Speaking of glitter ball, has anybody watched Strictly Come Dancing yet this season? It completely sort of bypassed me as a thing that was happening this year. I don't know why, but I didn't watch it last year. And normally I'm a big fan. I think part of it is that I don't really know many of the celebrities that are on there. But I did watch it on Saturday. Thought it was okay. It was not the usual calamity that week one is. There were actually some good dances, surprisingly. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I've got my little gold strip, and then here's our white piece, and then we've got our congratulations. Let's pop my mini dimensionals on that. I'll pop that there. Yeah, okay. So let's just trim. Apologies for that, folks. Hope you can see me again. Just had a call coming through on my phone, so let's just glue that on. And as I say, I've just left a little bit extra just in case. Okay, we can trim it off when we're done. Okay, so we've got that. Let's get that straight. Okay, and then we can pop our star on like so. Bring it down a little. Okay, I'm not pressing because I want to make sure I've got room for my sentiment before I fully commit. There we do. Here we go. And then I've got this teeny tiny little star here. So I'm just going to put a teeny tiny bit of glue on and just pop it there. Okay, and then we can trim our gold, being careful not to snip my star. And then we can just, I'm going to pop this up as well so I get some dimensionals on the back here. There we go. Okay. So there we have it. Let's just bring back in our cards, because you know what happens next, ladies. It's up to you. So, as I say, these are all items that are available on free from Saleabration, but that Saleabration ends tonight. So if you haven't already got your bits, you need to get online tonight and get your order in. So do we want 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1 as our cards? So we've got 1 and 2 here. That one. So there we go. So as I say, let me know which ones are your favorite. Just put your vote in there. And if you're watching the replay on YouTube, then give me a thumbs up and put your comment put your favorite in the comments below. I do go back and read them, so I'd love to hear them. As I say, make sure to get your orders in tonight to get your hands on these goodies or any of the others that we've got at the moment. And I will see you all again next week. Cheerio. Bye.